I'm actually not scared for his death.
Mhm.
It's his corruption.
Hi, ghouls, gals, and spooky pals. Welcome back to the Monstration Club. I'm Jen, and I'm here with my best friends
Matthew?
Emma.
and Emma to discuss the Stormlight Archive series. As you probably know, Winds of Truth is being released on December 6th, and we as a book club are really, really excited. We just got done reading Rhythm of War, me and Emma, for the first time. Matt, this was your second or third time? Second time. And he is our resident Sanderson expert. And today, we thought it would be really timely to discuss our favorite villains in the series thus far. But first, we thought it would be fun to do some free association with some of our favorite characters. So, what I want from Emma and Matt is what emotions come to mind when they think of these characters as it relates to Winds of Truth and what might happen in the fifth and final book. Careful here for spoilers. If you want to read these, Emma, I'm sure you don't have all four of them there, but if you want to read, they're about this chunky, all of them together. So if you want to take that on, good for you. Read that, zip through it, few months, few weeks, few days, and come back to us.
Hours, minutes.
Hours.
I did actually get all four books next to me, and then they were so big that my bookshelf was like the other books were tipping over without them. So I just got the one because they were in fact too big for me to bring all four of them. So it is like Bible length, I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So take it on if you feel like it and come back to us. Or
Take
if
it
you
on
already
if you
read
want
it.
a light read.
Hmm.
It's a quick, breezy read.
All right. What comes to mind when you guys hear Dalinar and Winds of Truth?
Scared?
That
He's,
might be our reaction to a lot of these, I feel like.
yeah, I don't think anyone's safe.
I don't
No,
care if Dalinar dies, so I'm gonna say excited that he can finally be the martyr that he's always wanted to be.
that's a good point. I'm actually not scared for his death.
Mhm.
It's his corruption.
Mm.
He's I would actually be a lot less afraid of him just dying.
Mhm.
But right now, and spoilers for End of Rhythm of War, that's not even what's on the table. Like his
Mhm.
death doesn't end. Like that's the thing that scares me is that his death actually just leads to his corruption. He owes his soul as a servant to our, big bad odium. So I think that's what scares me about it is that he can't just die and be a martyr. He actually has to turn into the villain that he's been fighting this whole time.
It's almost like he got a really bad deal and he was like, maybe I shouldn't make this deal. And then he did it anyway. He's wanted to be a martyr for four books. So I say, like, bring it on, become the villain. He already was a villain. So if anything, it's really just a like full
Full
circle,
circle,
coming
yeah.
back to his roots kind of moment. It's kind of like in Sweet Home Alabama when Reese Witherspoon comes home. Like Dalinar's just coming home to being a monster.
Yeah,
So
but we
I know
don't root
everyone
for them to
probably
give
loves
up.
Dalinar. He's
You're
my
so you're
Ellen, I
so
think.
He's the worst father ever, maybe.
He's such a bad father.
He's
He's
a bad
so bad.
husband. He's a bad guy.
He
He's not a
literally
good guy.
murdered his wife in a mass genocide, which is maybe one of the worst ways to murder your wife. Like, you shouldn't murder your wife
Maybe.
anyway, but definitely not like that. For sure, not like that. Okay, who do we have next?
Yeah, but worst father award still doesn't go to Dalinar.
Okay, fine. We'll give it to Lyra and Matt. Fine. Okay. Let them fight it out for who's caused more emotional trauma to their sons. Um, Adolin and Winds of Truth. I know Matt's got some big emotions here.
He's not making it. I have
Really?
already come to oh yeah, I mean if he was fattening up Teft to be like the emotional kill at the end of Rhythm of War, like Adolin has spent four books over 4,000 pages just getting absolutely fattened up. I don't see this is how I'm softening the emotional blows. I'm just already working towards acceptance before it happens. I will
It's
be
like pre-grieving.
Yes, it'll meet my expectations if and when he dies, and if he survives, then I will be excited.
Adolin is, I think, the one person I could see surviving. Like out of all of them, and I think it would be surprising because he's also the one that should be the least likely to survive since he's the only one that can't regenerate. I don't know if maybe I just think he deserves to survive.
He
Like maybe
does.
I'm just like I think he deserves to survive, so I hope he does. But I also maybe it's just something too about him that like when bad things happen to him, I feel like he continues on anyway. And so
I
maybe
mean,
I
he's
just
too
kind of feel like
lovable.
he has this like stick with it spirit. He's
He's too
Mr. Peanut
lovable.
Butter.
Or he is Mr. Peanut Butter. And if Mr. Peanut Butter was in the Sanderson verse, if he was in the Cosmere, do you think Mr. Peanut Butter is making it? Or do you think Diane is making it? Diane's making it. So,
Is
okay.
Diane Shallan in this?
I don't
Diane
know.
is
Let's.
Evie, who's gonna come back from the dead.
Oh my God, I was gonna do Evie just for you, so I'm glad that you've already like thrown out your psychotic theory that you have going on.
Okay, so for those of you that are unfamiliar, Evie, Dalinar's wife, who he very much murdered, who we've seen the body and has not been mentioned since, Emma's convinced, based on no evidence, that she's alive.
Okay, people have been convinced of other things with no evidence. So let's everyone just calm
Yes,
down with the
they
no
have.
evidence thing here. I think that I think Evie's still alive, and I think she's probably a godlike figure of some sort. I do sound psychotic. Like not only is she alive, but she's also a god now, in my theory. Um, yeah, but I think she's alive. I think she's. Do we already know all of the heralds? Do we have all of them? Are there ones missing?
There are still some missing.
Okay, I think she's a herald. I think she went back. I think when Dalinar killed her, she went back. She broke because the other guy didn't break. And Dalinar caused all of this by murdering her. So it's only fitting that Dalinar should be the one to have to sacrifice himself.
But weirdly enough, for me, I think that would it would almost cheapen it for me. I need someone to not be special. I
Hmm.
like that she was just this innocent woman from a backwater who happened to have like this really impressive inheritance in having shard plate, which she then used to get what she thought was protection, but also got embroiled in all of these politics that she wasn't ready for, and it killed her. Like,
And was murdered by her husband.
yeah, that's what I mean. There's something about she isn't some prophesied god, birthright, bloodline, anything, superpowers. She was just a regular human trying to do her best, and it got her killed. And I don't know, there's something for me, really, I need a character. I need that with her. Like I need her to not be special.
I think Emma, you want her to be alive because she deserves to be alive and this horrible thing happened to her, just like you want Adolin to survive. We all want Adolin to survive, but like honestly, I would love if she was alive and I would be surprised and it would be a great twist if she was.
Okay, also though, everyone thought Yasna died, and I was a firm believer that she did not die. And Jen, you tried to help me grieve, but I wasn't ready to grieve. And I think Adolin is the person I want to not be special because he's already special in his own way, but it does have to be a mystical way, you know? But Evie is a herald. So who's
Let's do one more of these. Let's do not dealer's choice, I guess.
we
What do you
have to talk about
guys?
Kaladin for sure
Okay,
though, and maybe Shallan.
Then let's do
We'll do
Kaladin.
them quicker.
Okay. Rapid fire round. Kaladin.
Kaladin's dying for sure, I think. Kaladin is how
I
I
think
feel about
Kaladin's gonna
Adolin.
make it. Everyone
Really?
around Kaladin dies. That's the whole thing.
But I also think that's why he's going to die because this is going to be
Maybe.
the time that he finally doesn't make it. Like he has, I feel like it's going to be set up where like he has survived to get to this point. Not he has survived and keeps surviving, but he has survived so that he could do this thing. And then
And the
once he does
suffering
that
ends.
thing, I think it's going to be over for Kaladin. Yeah, I don't think Kaladin's going to make it.
Want it to be over for him, but I also want that over to be like that last scene in Avengers Infinity War where Thanos is just like on his farm, like watching the sunset. Like that's what I want Kaladin's ending to be, is like literally like him and Syl like sitting down watching the sunset on their little farm by themselves, and everybody else can just F off.
I
And
think
he
that's a
gets
real
to,
possibility. Like everyone around him dies, and it's just Kaladin at the end.
This is so interesting. I thought for sure we would all think Kaladin would die. This is fascinating. I hope y'all are right. But I also feel like Kaladin is someone that I don't know that he's ever going to be happy. Whereas I think maybe like Adolin surviving, I feel more attached to, because I think Adolin could, like, even if Shallan died, I feel like he could move on and be happy. I don't know if Kaladin is ever going to have that. So I guess maybe I feel like he is like kind of being set up to be that tragic figure. But maybe he
I
could
agree
survive.
with you though. I think like that in a just world, maybe that's not in a just world, everyone would be fine. But in a more just world, maybe that's what would happen. I just don't foresee that being the ending, I guess. But I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I mean, I'm just, yeah, him and Leshwi are just gonna fly off into the distance and make some new Herdazians. It's gonna be fine.
Hey, what about
It's all gonna work.
Shallan?
Meh.
I'm not really
Okay.
that invested in what happens. It's
All
just
right, we don't care.
Shalon is
Let's move
really
on.
annoying to me. I love Shal. I want to like Shalon, but she makes it hard to like her sometimes, I think.
I like her. I think she's interesting.
I think
I
this
like
is
reading about
finally
her.
gonna be her chance to like redeem. She's just been so much of a struggle this whole time. Like, but she ended Rhythm of War like on an upswing. Like she's integrating her multiple personalities. She's like committed to doing the right thing and not waffling anymore with whether or not she's part of the Ghostblood Assassins, right? Like I think this is her chance to like stop being so wishy-washy. Like I just feel like her whole character has just been like, oh, I'm Shalon. I don't know who I want to love. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want to do. And then like I don't think it's so surprising that both Em and I are like, meh. Like
Yeah,
I'm not invested because she's all over the place. But like this might be her chance to like give me something to invest in.
I like it. She's messy. I think she could really set up for like a big peak in like character development in this book. I hope so, because otherwise it was kind I think that's what's going to happen. So
It's
we'll see.
interesting. I think I don't like Shalon for the same reason I don't like Bentley, which is that they are both very self-interested. Like Shalon's
Mm.
storyline is only ever about Shalon, really. It's not about a lot of other, like it's about even when bigger things are going on, it's still her own internal thing happening. So I don't necessarily feel, I don't know whether I even think she'll survive or not. Like I know you like her though, Jen. Do you think she's gonna make it? Because you might be the best person to answer this question.
This is so silly, but I actually haven't thought about like her fate at the end of the book. I don't th I find it hard to believe anyone special is really going to make it, which is why I'm okay with Adolin not being special and making it if that's I don't know. I don't know. I guess then Kaladin would die. And I don't think he will. I don't know. I guess I'm conflicted. She just doesn't seem like a real person to me because she's three different people too. So I guess I struggle with thinking of her and mortality, excuse me.
Freudian slip.
She's gonna make it. And her and Adolin are gonna be her and
I don't know
Kaladin
if
are
I
gonna be
want them to
very
stay
happy
together.
together. Yeah, her and
Her and
Kaladin could be
Kaladin.
happy to do together. Maybe.
I think
I
her
don't
and
know.
Kaladin make more sense than her and Adolin. I love Adolin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Adolin can be with his one true love, Maya, obviously.
I
And
love
they
how
all lived
invested you are
happily
in
ever
Maya.
after.
Yeah. I
Oh.
think part of it also, Shalon, it was like kind of fun with like Veil and Radiant and like at the beginning, like, oh, she's like doing her different personalities thing. And then it was like, but it was almost like gimmicky. And then it
Mm.
just like kept going.
Hmm.
Like it was one of those like fun at first, but I think I just got tired of her.
Okay, it's been like 3 books of the same thing over and over. And so I think that like the first book I really liked her in the first book, actually. The second book, I liked her. By the third book, I was like, I'm kind of done with this whole like multiple person. And then there were two more books, which wouldn't be that bad if the books were like 300 pages, but it was like 2,000 more pages
But she's like
of this.
hardly in it, I guess. Like I wouldn't say that she really had any major plot points in this book. It took us so long to read this book. Maybe she had more than I'm giving her credit for. But I just guess I don't really expect a lot of her, and so I'm hoping that we're amping up for a big Shallan thing. She hasn't had a big thing in a while, I feel like.
Mm-mm. Yeah. And the stuff with her mom, there's something with her mom, right?
Oh
That
yeah.
we're like, hopefully, if the payoff is good, that will be wonderful. But I need it to be really good, I think. But I do think she's redeemable as a character if she can get there.
The more we talk about this, the more I'm realizing I think that I think her death would actually probably be one of the most shocking ways to go with it. Because like so far, right, we're looking at like Adolin, Dalinar, Kaladin, like already have this martyr complex. Like, I mean, Dalinar and Kaladin maybe more than Adolin, but even then, Adolin is like willing to throw himself like in front of people to help protect others, right? So it's
Mhm.
like I guess it's because they're almost primed for like where they're in character for them to like die in defense of others.
Hmm.
Whereas like Shallan is kind of the more selfish one, like you were talking about, like
Hmm.
also kind of the more lone wolf. Like it would be, I think her death would be a lot more jarring in that it doesn't fit into like what we expect from her. Like if Dalinar like dies defeating Odium, like okay, yeah, that just
Hmm.
fits, right? That just fits with
Hmm.
his whole arc.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I'm also think it's interesting. I love Kaladin and don't really like Dalinar, but they are both martyrs. And so that's
Like self-proclaimed.
kind of interesting. Yeah, but I think it bothers me. I think Dalinar is more self-righteous about being a martyr. And I think that's what bothers me more. Is he's like, here's the right way to be a martyr. And whereas Kaladin, I think, just is a martyr by nature. Like I think Kaladin wants to be happy. He just can't. Um,
Well, also like Dalinar like acts like he's a martyr, but has literally had nothing but privilege his whole life.
Mhm.
Like he's like, oh, I'm like doing all these difficult things for my people, but like still living as a literal prince and or king the whole time. Right? Whereas like nothing actually bad has happened to him, even not in consequence, like to his own actions. Like he even got to get away from murdering his wife in the process of genocide long enough to like be able to process it. Like he even escaped like the real consequences of that, right? And then you have on the other hand, you have Kaladin who like literally was like enslaved for a significant period of time and like was very close to dying many times
for no reason
for no reason.
other than helping people. Which makes me wonder,
Okay.
like, is Dalinar one of these villains? No, I was gonna push us into Jen, you could do it.
Great. No, go ahead and push us if you can find a way to push.
No, I'm like, is Dalinar one of the villains or one of the heroes? And who, I think I'm wondering, like, who is our favorite villain? Not necessarily who do we hate the most,
Oh
because it's
yeah.
obviously Moash, right? Like, everyone hates Moash the most, but who is our favorite
I
villain?
took it like who I like reading about and who I am maybe the most scared of as a
Ooh, I
villain.
like that. Yeah.
Um, and for me, that's Taravangian, to be honest. He scares me a lot. Emma, this won't mean anything to you, but Matt, he actually reminds me a little less now, but a lot of Duarte from The Expanse
Oh
as a
yeah.
villain, kind of that Emperor Palpatine kind of. I don't know. He scares me. Um, I think he's so relatable because of his complex motivations. And he just really wants to do the greater good. The way he's going about it, I think we can all agree is horrifying. Obviously now he has even more power, like an absurd amount of power. The end of
Hmm.
the book was pretty upsetting. I mean, I think we all kind of knew what was going to happen, but he's Odium, and that's scary. And I also think he's really unpredictable, even though he's super pragmatic. I think His dumb days like scare me more than anything. He just scares me. The unpredictability of it. I think he's creepy. Um,
Mhm.
I think he makes for a good villain, and I like reading about him.
I think he also, like as you were talking about that, I think one thing that's scary, right, is he keeps doing these bad things, but using them as evidence that he's a good person. Like he's like,
Hmm.
I'm going to give away the entire world to save my small town because I'm such a good, like because I have the greater good in mind. And even like he has essentially become this world's version of Satan. And it's like,
Yeah.
see how good this is that I've done this? I'm like, it's not good.
I mean,
Taravangian,
we could talk
not
about
good.
like Raboniel being crazy, which I think Emma's probably going to bring up.
I'm gonna die on this
He
hill.
is completely wackadoodle and seems completely unaware of how wackadoodle he really
Hmm.
is. And yet he justifies it in this way, and he has all this power, and he feels really untouchable to me at this point, which scares me.
Okay, do you think Raboniel, I'm about to talk about her, or Taravangian is more crazy?
Taravangian. You say it different
Taravangian.
than the audiobook says it, so then you say it, and then I come up with this weird like cross between. I think Taravangian, which is how it's said in the
Hmm.
audiobook, right, Matt? Taravangian is crazier.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm gonna go with Raboniel just because.
Oh,
So
Matt.
I see Taravangian as it's almost religious fervor. It's the like pure self-righteousness. Like he is
But
so
that's
sure he is,
crazy.
Yeah,
but
that is crazy.
it's
It's like,
more
oh my goodness.
terrifying to me. But just see. I guess to me is like quote unquote crazy in this case. Like I am defining as like almost like illogical or too like off the rails to the point of like she is so obsessed with ending this war that like we've talked about before, she handed nukes to the enemy. She's like, I don't care. I am so interested in this war ending that like it's the idea that like the goal is all that matters, but she lost the reason for it. Like she lost they're fighting for like their own territory, they're fighting for their own reasons, whatever that may be. Whereas at least Taravangian like is organized in his thinking in that way of like he is so sure of himself and his logic that he can only win a certain way that he's willing to do. I mean, they're both like doing things that I don't think are moral or okay or whatever. But like at least for him, like there's like a clear connecting of the dots. Whereas I think just Raboniel is just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and like putting up a logical front behind that. It's like crazy
Okay,
wise, I'm going Raboniel all the way.
hard disagree. I
Rare.
I
love
disagree too.
Raboniel. She is my favorite villain. Because I would argue that she is a villain,
What a
right?
transition.
She she's she's a really fun character. She's a really complicated character. She's a really fun character. Her her storyline with Navani, I think in addition to Bridge 4 are my favorite storylines. Like that is one of my favorite storylines of the whole series, I think. I think it's a great storyline. There's a lot of complexity there. You saying like she lost sight of those things, to me, her being alive so long, she actually just has a more expansive view. So I view it less as like she lost sight, but more as like she understands the implications of this going on forever, whereas humans are short-sighted and like I want to win. And it reminded me a little bit of climate change and climate change, right? Like we are destroying this planet. Spoiler alert for folks who don't know, it is real and we are the ones doing it. Um, and so it reminded me of like, let's say there was a scientist who was like, I found this way to help with climate change and figure out climate change, but there is a chance it might kill people. But the planet will definitely survive. Would we call them crazy if they're willing to sacrifice their own people
Okay, but they
for
have a
this larger
goal.
good?
But okay, so to me
But
that's
she
where the
has a goal
difference is.
too.
She does
Her
have a
goal is
goal.
to end the war. That is
But
a
that
clear goal. You may not agree with it, but it is a clear goal.
okay, but in the climate change example here, like the idea is that your goal is to, in this case, let's say stop the like rampant increase of human caused increase in temperature that threatens potentially most life on Earth, right?
Mhm.
So like that's the goal. And if the side effect of that goal is like all humans die, like I don't agree with it, but like I see the straight line.
Mhm.
Where I lose the straight line with Raboniel is ending the war. Just the war needs to end, even if my own side loses. Like at least Taravangian is like, okay, well, I think we need to find a middle ground compromise. But like just ending the war, like I don't even care if my people get wiped off the map. Like the war just has to end. How is that better for her people? How is it better for the singers to get completely genocide wiped off the map than to keep fighting the war?
It's like Emma said, and I don't know that she said it today, but she said it when we all talked about this. She's been around forever, dude. She's sick of it. She just
Oh, I
wants it to be
agree.
done.
That's what I mean. So for her, this is why I think she's the craziest one, is because for her, she's in so much pain. She suffered so much from this. She's like, I just want it to end, right? There, it's like you're playing the fourth quarter of whatever sport you're chosen, right? And you're just like, I don't even care. This happened to me. By the way, this happened literally happened to me in pickleball today. We were trading points along. I was exhausted and I had to leave. And I was like,
Mhm.
I don't even care anymore. My goal is not even to win. I just want someone to score some points because I want this game to be over. But like in the context of that game, like the game wasn't the goal anymore. And in this case, we're talking about a war. Like she
Right,
had
but that's
removed herself from the actual, she's like, I don't even, right, I just want to stop playing. I just want this war to be over. Is to me, that's where she's lost it.
well,
Like,
to be fair, she does say that she would prefer they win.
yeah,
So she's like, I would prefer we win, but the greater good is for this war to end, which I think, yeah, Matt, and you may disagree, and that's okay. That's what makes this fun. That is a goal. I just don't think you like it. But I do think she has a goal. I do think in the context of a never-ending war where everyone she loves is brought back over and over until they all eventually go crazy, like her daughter did.
mhm,
That actually is a goal, and that is a good goal to not watch every single person you know eventually like go crazy,
yeah.
even if it means people die. I just think maybe like you don't like that goal. But it is a goal. And I think to me it kind of reminds me of this idea that like if she were not in this situation, it would be crazy. But it reminds me of like this is an appropriate reaction to an inappropriate situation.
That makes
Like it
sense.
I
actually
agree.
makes sense in a really crazy world.
She's in
In
a
any
crazy
other world,
place.
it would not make sense.
So her answer to a crazy thing is a crazy solution.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. But it's normal in a crazy world, but in a regular world, it would be absolutely nutso.
But that makes her, so in this case, this started with the comparison to Taravangian. So would you say then that Taravangian being in a more normal circumstance with a more normal response, which is in this case capitulation, right? Like we see this in the real world where like leaders have to make a decision. Do I cede the ground that was given in order to end the war, or do I continue the war? We're seeing this literally right now. I won't derail
Mhm.
us into like geopolitics. But like, and so that is to me, that is like a logical, natural decision that a leader might have to make. I don't agree with like the way
Mhm.
Taravangian goes, but I see how he got there. I guess that's what I mean.
Mhm.
Like when
I
we
think
talk
she's
the
just
idea of
less relatable than in that regard.
yeah,
Like I think she's just
Mhm.
less relatable, but because we can't fathom her situation.
I think that's how I feel. Is like that's why I said I feel like she has an expansive view. And so to us, it doesn't make sense because we haven't lived forever. But I think her view is actually more accurate than the human's view. It just feels crazier because if you haven't lived until infinity, you're like, why the hell would your own people dying be a good solution? But if you watched everyone you love slowly become crazy,
yeah.
your view is different. But yeah, I think Taravangian, I think similarly, I understand. I feel like we understand him. Um, but he is less predictable. Like I feel like
That's
Raboniel
what
is
scares me.
predictable. You just may like we may not like her solution, whereas Taravangian, his logic doesn't always add up, and so I'm kind of oh wait, I never know what he's gonna do.
That's what
Matt, who is
scares me
your
about him.
yeah? Who's
Yeah,
your favorite
Matt.
villain?
Well, I mean, I think I would normally go with Raboniel. That I mean, just as a fascinating character who is dead, especially if Moash is off the table because everyone like
Mhm.
he's just
But
hated.
he's no one's favorite, right? Like, would he be your favorite?
That's true. Love to hate him, but no, because there's no
Mm.
ambiguity there. I think that's the thing is that
Uh-huh.
yeah, like right, these are so like interesting. They're when I'm feeling like emotionally fatigued or like empathy fatigued, then he is my
Mhm.
favorite because he's just unredeemably awful.
Mhm.
Like I think why like narratively like Raboniel or Taravangian are both so interesting because like I can actually see a place where like I could get there.
Mhm.
Like like I can I can see like in those circumstances like I might make those kind of decisions. I hope not,
Mhm.
but like that thing that's why they're so interesting. Because like I can see
Moash
it, I
is
don't
even less
agree.
relatable.
And
Mhm.
then Moash is just shitty. Like
Yeah.
he's just
Mhm.
awful, like across the board.
Mhm.
So as far as like I do, I mean I love to hate him. I think it's fun to just universally he has no redeeming qualities. Like we can just hate on
Mhm.
him no matter what, especially after like we get a little more insight into his process, right? When he starts
Mhm.
to feel emotions again and he's like, "Oh my God, what have I done?" Nope, I just want to avoid all this, give my pain to odium and like I just want blank numbness while also allowing myself to be used as a tool to cause so much suffering. Like
Mhm.
he has opted into both of those.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and
in
the
a lot
only
of
person
ways,
that showed him any compassion, he does not care about destroying.
and like actively, like so much so that his one goal right now is to prove how right he is by destroying the only person that ever really cared for him. I guess the only living person that's still cared for him. He had his family back in the day that kind of kicked all this
Mhm.
off. But like so I think like that part of it, and like we saw his insights, of he's like, oh my God, I killed Tef. Nope, I'm not going to face that. I'm just going to give it away. And
Mhm.
yep, I'm going to go right back to feeling nothing and trying to kill ever. And then he like immediately goes to try to kill Kaladin.
Yeah, like immediately. Oh, man. Well, what
Yeah,
are y'all's final thoughts? Like, what are your kind of takeaway thoughts about our favorite villains?
I don't think my opinion has changed. He's still my favorite. But I wasn't thinking about who was crazier. I know we had the whole conversation about is Raboniel crazy? And I mean, you did sway me quite a bit when we talked on Wednesday. Um, and I do
I should have been a politician.
maybe, maybe Emma, I missed
Missed
that
my
calling.
calling.
Um, but I guess we don't really have to worry about her in book five. So now I'm just still scared of Taravangian and I just hate Moash. So that's where I am with that.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about Sadius, who I'm not going to open
Ah,
anything new, but he was a Moash type villain, which is it's kind of nice sometimes though to not have the complexity and to
he was
just
more
be
fun
able
to
to
read
hate
about.
people. Yeah. I love Raboniel. I would love to hear from folks like if you think Raboniel or Taravangian is more crazy, Taravangian, and if you think Raboniel is crazy or not. Because I feel like a lot of people probably also think she's crazy. So I'm really curious to hear people's, like, if you have perspectives on what does or
Well, then
doesn't
they're
make her
both
crazy.
crazy. Yeah,
They're
who's
both,
crazier?
yeah. Does it even matter?
I really like that idea of like Rabonia was crazy because she was put in a crazy circumstance. And that would drive anyone insane, which is also one of the themes, right? We see Tom being tortured for 4,000 years is also crazy. All of those fused are crazy in their own way.
Mhm.
But I think for me, it's that the villains I like are the ones that are so ambiguous, like where I can see
Mhm.
myself, like I can see why they got there, versus the ones that are just pure evil or like fun to have in the story, but also not nearly as like fascinating as the ones where like I see how they got there, and I don't know if I would be different.
Mhm. Yeah, you relate to them a little.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
a little piece that goes, I could get that.
Okay. Thanks for watching. And if you've made it this far, you should totally like and subscribe because it's completely free and we are super fun. And until next time, stay spooky, friends.